Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar today. This is sort of fun for us because we really spent some time thinking about getting home care leads, and also, as Amy just said, it really is a wonderful time to think about soup. So I think I agree with that. I had a great soup for lunch, and I'm excited to talk to you all today. Before we start, let me give you a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this webinar, so it will be posted on our corecubed website, corecubed.com /events, and along with lots of other webinars that we have done over the years. So if you have a need to learn about marketing, we hope you'll come to corecubed.com and look at our events and take advantage of some of the information that we have shared throughout the years. I have everyone on mute mode, which means that we can't hear you, but it also means that we will be able to have a broadcast today that is nice and not have all the background noise. So if you have a question, you should be able to type that in on the right-hand side of your screen. There should be a box there for you to ask questions, and we will be glad to answer those questions either at the end of this webinar, or if we don't have time, we will respond to you personally. So I am Merrily Orsini, and I am President and CEO of corecubed, but my passion really lies in caring for others, and I've been involved in the healthcare at home industry for a long time, and continue to be enthusiastic about that involvement and really enjoy my communication and my interaction with people in the industry. I learn all the time. I'm an avid reader, and I do love marketing, and I love technology, and I love how things are changing. So it's really the perfect place for me to be, and I'm so happy that you joined us today because you are going to hear most from these two ladies, Marissa Snook, who is one of our managing directors, and Marissa basically administers our corecube's MOST program. She is daily involved in the SEO operations and in learning more and more ways to showcase our clients and to make certain that the leads that we find those leads for clients, and also that those leads turn into customers, to long-term customers. So Marissa, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
And Amy Selle is our other co-managing director, and Amy is really a brand diva, very creative person, and is just a delightful person to work with and a wonderful asset to the team, not only because of how much fun she is to work with, but also because of her talent and skills. So Amy, thank you so much for being with us today.
And I'm also happy to be here today.
Good, good. We're going to talk today really sort of like when you go into a restaurant and they say, you know, the chef is amazing, so why don't you just take the chef's specials? And then he's going to bring you, or she's going to bring you everything from soup to nuts, and with dessert in between. So that's really what we're talking about today. We are giving you the chef special, and we are really going to talk about leads. We're going to talk about how branding relates to those. We're going to talk about the main course of your marketing in this day and age, which is your website, of course, and then also how to keep it, making it sweet. So with content that changes in social media. So anyway, I hope you'll have fun with us today, as much fun as we had putting this together, and but you should also be learning some pretty important things. And the first thing we're going to talk about is who is the lead, and what is a lead? Excuse me, I don't know why I'm getting a notice, and I apologize to you for getting that, but it's coming through. So, all right, Amy, you want to talk about who we think of when we are talking about a lead, when we say lead generation? What are we talking about?
Well, I think we're talking about a lot of different people. There are the people who have a relative or a loved one or a friend with a care need. There are the people that have a care need themselves. There's people who are actively searching for care. They know that their parent needs it right now, and they're out there really Googling home care agencies and looking for that need. There's also people who don't have an immediate need, but they're starting to search. And a lot of times they're searching about topics related to the needs that their parent has. Obviously, people who are referring to you right now, those are leads. People who've used your services before and have a recurring need, or people who've used your services before and can refer your services to others. And we just note here at the bottom, a lead can be either a consumer or a referral source.
I think a lot of times as home care agencies, it's really easy to sort of focus on the one type of lead. And you can see here, there's really a lot of different types that need to be thought about when you're looking for leads and doing your marketing and how to best reach all of these different types of leads.
Well, and I think the other thing that I would mention is when we talk about the basics of marketing and we talk about strategy, at the very heart of that is, who are you talking to? Who specifically are you trying to reach? And so I think when you're starting on down this marketing journey or trying to refine your marketing journey, to really think about, make certain that you are thinking about your leads all the time and you're not just doing an activity, but you actually have in mind who specifically would want to read this, or who would want to see this, or who would want to purchase this service, and or who would want to find out about it. So pretty that understanding who that lead is I think basic to marketing. So Marissa, how is it that an agency, there's lots of different ways, but what are some of these ways that an agency can attract leads?
A lot of you probably have either yourselves or staff that goes out and meets with referral sources, so those personal interactions and the networking, going out into the community, into the different professional organizations. Lots of different ways that you can get leads from potential referral sources. But of course, in the age of the internet, there are lots of different ways to reach clients, potential clients, through social media, through your website. And of course, don't forget your employees and people who have worked with you in the past, or maybe your caregivers tell people at church or some other social place who, what they do, and then the word gets passed around that way. So there's lots of different ways for people to hear about your agency and learn about your agency, and don't discount any of them.
And when those people actually start looking for care, they have lots of information that they might be interested in. And it's usually, depending on their situation, going to be different than everyone else, or at least somewhat different than everyone else. But they are, because of the complexity of healthcare at home, they are going to want information. So that is sort of a basic to attracting a lead is giving them something to that they can take hold of, that they can actually then interface with you because you are offering them some information of some kind. So but I love the idea to really think, A, thinking of who those leads are, and then B, really thinking about all the different possibilities of ways that you can attract leads. And once you've attracted them, this is one of the things that people have the hardest time doing. You got to put them somewhere. You have to make certain that you are collecting that information, and that not only are you collecting it, but then you're putting it to good use, and putting it to good use based on where they are in that process of searching for care, and also in terms of what information that they need. Now, in order to attract them, you got to start with something very, very warm and very fragrant and very tasty and very compelling. So that is our soup. And that's what branding. If you have a brand, and we do lots and lots of branding work, and we do lots of webinars on what exactly is branding, because it isn't that intuitive. We also do webinars on, and I would suggest you listen to them, on the psychology behind the purchasing of home care, because that's where the brand really comes in. It's that it's not the rational side, it's really your emotional side, and it's the appeal that that someone gets when they see your business, or look at your business, and it's something that compels them. So Amy, you're our branding diva. You should be the one talking about brands.
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things that I ask agency owners to think about when they're thinking about their brand. The most important thing is, what is your story? What is your why for being in business? How do you want to help customers? The other thing is, how do you show the quality that your agency represents? And most people want to know that a brand exists for a reason. Your reason is that you want to help people. There's different takes on that for different agencies on how they want to help people. We'll see some examples later on in the presentation. We worked with one agency who their why was that they wanted to really reinforce the relationship between the older adult and the adult child. And we worked with another agency who believed that your home is really a reflection of your identity, and so that everything that they did to keep that person in the home and support them well was their why. So it's really digging into why you do what you do, telling that story about why you do it, and then making sure that everything on your marketing materials shows quality, and making sure that it is warm, that it is a relief when people see it, that it's easy for them to understand, and they feel like they've landed in the right place.
And it does have to taste different, sort of. It has to be better. It has to really be based on who you are. So you really can't, you might like someone else's brand, but you really can't copy someone else's brand to be effective. Now, people that are searching for care, your leads, they really are hungry for something. And that hunger can somewhat be satisfied when they actually see your brand. If, as Amy said, it is a comfort to them and it gives them some reason to want to emotionally connect. Because if one thing is, home care services is definitely driven emotionally. I mean, that is, you are, everyone knows that. It's usually at a highly emotional time when you're making that transition to provide care for someone or to get care for someone. So, and then Amy mentioned this why. We did a presentation at the Home Care Association of America, an hour-and-a-half presentation basically on the why. And once you understand what moves you emotionally, it really is that why you're in business and why you do what you do. And then you follow up with how you do it and the what you do, but that initial appeal to satisfy that hunger really is the why is it that someone is providing home care services, and why should I use that business?
Yeah, I think that, oh, I'm sorry. I think the second point on that last slide is where most people stop. They tell people what they do, but they never tell them why they do it.
And they will oftentimes tell them how they do it, but you're right. It is the stellar agency that tells people why they do it. And I'm going to do some examples next, but these are just a few examples. But your brand really does need to be woven throughout every single thing that you do, that you say, that you create. So anything at all that you are using to represent the business definitely needs to have that brand, the follow through on that brand. And I love Amy saying it needs to make you feel comfortable when you come there, because in home care that is really the key here. Amy, why don't you talk about Midnight Sun and their branding for a minute?
Sure. So Midnight Sun Home Care is one of the companies that I referenced earlier. And their tagline is empowering individuality and reinforcing family. And their goal is to help their clients continue to be their individual selves, and to do that by fortifying family relationships. So they spend a lot of time really getting to know their clients and the clients' family members, and they can only provide exceptional care based on really having that relationship intel that they're gaining. And then they have translated that calling that they have into their brand, helping families be families and helping people enjoy their family relationships.
And it is working for them very well. You will also note it's nice bright colors and clear visuals, so you get a feeling of comfort from this, and it is working out very well for them, because in order for a brand to really work, you have to make it weave also through your service provision, and they do that as well, in terms of how they train their caregivers, how they work with their caregivers, how the staff works with their clients. So they are living their brand.
Yeah, I think, again, when people see your brand, the feeling that you want them to have is that feeling of comfort, reassurance, and that instant, yes, I want this. I want this for my parent. I want this for myself. 1776 is another good example. Their brand obviously is built on celebrating the independent spirit in everyone. And they extend that to their caregivers. Their calling is to protect and preserve independence for older adults. And they've built their brand around that message. Their visuals complement that, their logo complements that, and you see the positive feeling in the images they've selected, and in the logo and the tagline that they've selected. So their tagline is Life, Liberty, and You. And here we have another example. This is Home Sweet Home in Home Care. And I also referenced them earlier. And their belief really was that a client's home reflects their individuality. They've decorated that home, they've lived in that home, it contains their memories, and that is how we came up with the tagline, Care Where It Matters Most. And so we're asking the client and kind of interviewing them, finding out, why are you in this business, what's important to you, for helping clients, and developing their logo and their tagline around that.
I find it interesting to watch how the branding gets translated throughout the website, through the brochures, and throughout everything that the agencies do.
Yeah, I think it may sound easy in concept. It's actually quite a process, and a lot of interviewing and asking a lot of questions about the brand. When it comes together, again, what you want are materials that look professional, but also, because this is home care and it's a service that's very personal in nature, you want to project that feeling of positivity, comfort, reassurance, etc.
Marissa mentioned this earlier, and it is really true that in today's marketing, your website is your most important expenditure. And your website is interrelated with all of these other things. Obviously, you would need to use your branding for your website, and then there's also all kinds of digital marketing components and lead generation components that having a website simply makes much easier and much more effective. And I think the difference in thought process for the website, and I'm assuming that most people know this now, but a website is not a brochure anymore. A website should really be an interactive portal. A website should basically help someone find the information that they're looking for, and then help them take actions to interface with the agency so that you can then capture that lead and you can continue that conversation on with them. But I just can't emphasize enough how having a good, functional, healthy website that's really been designed as a brand extension and also as a lead generator, that is just absolutely crucial. And anyone who asks questions about how do I get leads, getting a lead from website, getting leads from your website should be one of the main reasons to have a website right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's no longer a business card on the internet. It's a way to attract more leads. But that doesn't diminish the fact that sometimes leads will come to your site because they've heard about you from a referral source, and your brand and your website are there to reinforce that professionalism and quality that you have.
And also to serve as an employee portal where you're searching for people who would help you serve more people because they're excellent people and they need jobs. So I don't think I can play this video now, but I love the fact that that they have extended their brand through everything they say, including a video that talks about the supporting families while they're helping individuals. The other thing is the user experience. And this is something that I think you need to get someone else to help you with because I don't think it's intuitive. But when someone lands on your website, they need to, A, because of the branding, feel comfortable there, but they also need to make certain that they can find out what they need to know pretty quickly. And you want to have them contact you because if they're getting information, that logical next step would be to get that in-home assessment. And you also want them to feel satisfied. Once they have contacted you, you want to make certain that you are doing everything you can to satisfy them and to continue to follow up with them.
Yeah, I think the patience of consumers with websites is waning a bit, and so what we're able to do is to structure the site's navigation so that you're getting people very quickly to where they want to go, and helping them move through the site in a very quick, logical fashion. The other thing I would add in is that we still see agencies that are not keeping up with their website maintenance, which can affect the site speed and how the site moves. And so, it's very important. You may think that it's not a super important thing to do, but keeping up with your website maintenance, making sure that all of the updates on your site are performed. I mean, it does affect that consumer who's visiting your site. It needs to move appropriately, and a path needs to be designed.
One thing I want to mention is the design of the website to attract leads. I've seen clients who spend a lot of money on pay-per-click and SEO trying to drive traffic to that website, and they have this crazy creative website, but it's also crazy difficult. It's been so creative that it's very difficult to find basic information on that website.
Yeah.
So, and then people take it the other way where everything is, they have great information on the website, but the text is so tiny or there's so much of it bunched together that you can't find what you need quickly enough. And that's not going to help you when you're trying to capture those leads. You have such a short amount of time to get the information to them before they move somewhere else and look for the information somewhere else. So
Yeah,
make sure that that design is appropriate.
Right. And the first example Marissa gave, we like to call kitchen sinking it. They're so creative that they've put every feature on their website and functionality possible. And I think what you have to remember is that they're already overwhelmed. So when they get to your site, you have to give them something that's not going to overwhelm them or strain them more, but instead help them to move easily and quickly to the information that they need.
This 5 elements of a conversion path is basically when you are on your website and you want someone to move through a pathway, the call to action, and then a place that when someone responds to that call to action they land on, that's called a landing page, and then a form that actually gathers their information, and then what's not on here is that information then has to go somewhere within your business that it resides so that you can then communicate with them, know where they came from, know what their issues are, and continue that communication. A thank you page so that they know you've gotten the information, and then a personalized confirmation email that lets them know that you do have the information. Now what's not on here is what happens after that lead, because we're really just talking about lead generation for this presentation today, but then there's a lot of things you can do after that. But these are really the steps using the website that you can really get these get the people who are looking at your website to move through it. The thing, we talked about targets, and we talked about who is a target, we talked about who is a lead. I'm using lead and target interchangeably here, but I think the thing, you saw the differences in the types of people that are looking for things. What we didn't really talk about is the professional referral sources who are also looking, but the visual and the messages that you are trying to attract people is going to vary according to the target. You would speak differently and use different images if you're appealing to the senior himself or herself, and you would also use different images and messages if you're appealing to an adult child or if you're dealing to a professional referral source. And so each target you can do, there's no limit on a website to how many landing pages you can have, but they do need to basically fit with who it is you're trying to attract.
Yes, I think there's some intersection of content that you would use for each audience, but what I would add is that, you know, the priority of that information is different.
Yes. This is just, you know, what is a call to action? It can be a button, it can be a banner, it can be just some text that has a link in it, but you do need to be very clear about what it is you actually want them to do, whether it's download something, sign up something, contact us for something. But again, these are wonderful examples in terms of the types of things that you might want to offer people when they come to your website. Landing page 101. When someone actually lands on that landing page, there's some specific things. They need to know what it is you're offering them. What are they going to get if they actually fill out the form? Visuals are always important on this, and then some really good text that tells them offers. I've got a couple of examples here, but you all want to say anything about landing pages before I show examples?
I would just say there's different ways to promote landing pages too, so to start thinking about that, how would I promote a landing page? On the last slide we talked about, you know, what the subject or content of a landing page might be. So if it was, let's say, how to help people know when home care is needed for a senior. You could then promote that landing page in social media. You could promote it on the home page of your website. So just to kind of start thinking about where and how would I promote that landing page. I think that ties into the purpose of why to use a landing page.
Yes, and as you become more familiar with generating leads on your website, you will also start thinking more creatively about ways that you can actually get people to come to the landing page. If you're writing a blog, you can link to it. If you're giving a presentation, you can put a link in your presentation, or you can give people some information that have it as a handout. So I mean, there's lots of different ways when you know who your target is and you know what actions you want them to take to try to drive them there to generate those leads. I've got a couple of examples of landing pages, but I love this one, conversation starters to discuss home care with seniors. And the button on the home page says something like this. Download our conversation starters to discuss home care with seniors. Is that what it is? Something like that, very, very specific and drawing people to this.
Additionally, this client also has promoted this landing page on their social media through social media advertising. So they have a little advertisement that has a nice graphic and image on it that entices people to learn more about this, and they click that link and it brings them to this landing page.
Yeah, and this goes back to thinking about, you know, what do you hear when you're talking to people, when you're taking inquiries? You know, having done that myself, one of the things you hear is that, you know, mom is resistant to even talking about this. Well, what would be some great ways to try to discuss this with mom? You know, what are some ways you can ease into that conversation? So a lot of adult children are going to be interested in, you know, a resource that gives them tips about how to bring up this conversation in different ways.
This is one of our internal landing pages, but I included it because I think it's absolutely beautiful. And it's our program that deals with reputation management, but it certainly satisfies all the criteria and for us to generate leads and then continue to communicate with people after that. Here's another form. You can put whatever you need on there. You can have the name, you can have their email address, you can have a telephone number, you can have them comment, but whatever you are asking them to do, it should be appropriate. If you'll notice with Home Sweet Homes, they just had the email address and the name, which is really fine because you can communicate with people that way. But and if you are adding other fields that you want people to fill out, don't make them mandatory, because someone might not want to give you their telephone number, or they might not want to give you their email address and only want to give you the telephone number. So
yeah. I think the other thing to note is that with Home Sweet Home, so they're not asking for a telephone number, they're not going to call you if you fill out the form, they're offering you a great tool. What they really want to collect is your email address, because they also do a monthly digital e-newsletter. So they're going to offer you more information in the future.
And if you go back to our list of, think about the list of everyone who is a lead, then anytime you're collecting information from someone and you are communicating with them about the benefits of home care or some you know, topics that relate to people who might want to provide, might want to stay at home when they need care, then it's never wasted. You're always want to grow that lead base so that you can communicate with as many people as possible who have shown an interest. Just common courtesy to say thank you. When someone completes a form, you get a thank you page. It's nice if it looks nice and it has some other nice things on it, because it does at least let that person know that they have completed the process of signing up for whatever they're just signed up for or communicated about, and it's just a polite thing to do. And you also have opportunities on that landing page to entice them to do other things as well. Again, just being polite, but also making certain that their email address is correct, and then you can provide them whatever they've asked for, but you can also continue to communicate with them and give them other information as well.
Yeah, I think in the confirmation email, it's nice to point them toward your agency website blog, where you've been writing all kinds of great information, just like the resource that you just shared with them. Then they know they've got that tool to use if they need it.
We spend a lot of time and energy internally and externally on search engine optimization. We also do pay-per-click, which is the paying for people's links, paying for people's clicks back through your site. But the pay-per-click, and we do long discussions and long webinars on this, is really just functional for whatever time you're paying. It isn't long-term. And the using search engine optimization tactics actually is far more long-term and does benefit in the long run, more than paying for something that's just a momentary benefit.
Another recommendation that I typically make to clients is that you really should be doing SEO before you do PPC, because you want to make sure that your site is in the best shape possible, the highest quality possible, the best user experience possible before you try driving a lot of people there through PPC. Otherwise, you're driving people to something that you have not optimized properly, and maybe isn't set up the best way for them.
Content is something that you can put in your website in a lot of different ways, but blogging is probably the easiest way to do it. And content is, oh gosh, so important to SEO, I can't even tell you, because Google loves fresh content and Google loves relevant content. But the bigger thing behind content is that's what people are coming for. So if someone who is thinking about using home care and researching it, or even researching different agencies that provide home care, wherever they are in that lead generation list of the process, when they get to your website, we've talked about it being visually appealing, that gets them there after so they're going to stay there more than that first 5 seconds where they might go elsewhere, but then now they're there. So when they're there, you really want to make them get what it is that they're looking for.
Yes, we are living in a content society. If you haven't noticed, everybody wants to know more about how to do things, how to help people, how to make things, and that information is at our fingertips. So having great content helps you help other people, and helping other people makes them look more attractive, makes your agency look more attractive to them.
And sometimes I get the comment from clients that say, why should I blog, or why should I add all of this content to my website when there's websites like caring.com or WebMD that answer a lot of these questions? How am I going to compete with that? And the answer is there are lots of things that are specific to the audience that you are going for in your specific service area, that if you answer those questions and talk about what your service area is in that content, your information is going to pop up higher on those search results than some of these other places because they're looking for something local.
Yeah, I think you have to keep in mind too, content that you create for any purpose for your website, it's all repurposable and reusable. So don't think that, you know, a blog you create for your website can't be turned into something that you take to a referral source or use for a follow-up email to a lead or a referral source. Think about repurposing your content and the ways that it can be repurposed.
And don't forget that on every page of your website, after someone has read through the page, you need them to want to do something. What's the next step? Okay, I've read now that about my how to talk to my mother who has Alzheimer's, but what's my next step? You know, it's probably going to be call the agency and see if we have someone who is trained in Alzheimer's care who can provide some respite for someone who's currently caring for the mother. So whatever the logical call to action is with the result of the content is what needs to be on that page. You've also got an opportunity because referral sources oftentimes are looking for a partner or looking for someone to solve a specific problem. So you need to also think about your referral sources because you can also help them with their clients by having information on your website that's going to help their clients. And the selling point to that is that if you're helping the referral sources do their jobs better to help their clients because of something you're giving them or you're presenting to them or you're offering them, then it really makes for a stronger and a more mutually beneficial relationship.
Don't forget print materials for these referral partners, because if you have a brochure or a rack card that answers specific questions or problems that these referral sources clients have, you know, it's a much sort of a softer sell for them to hand their clients your piece which solves their problem than it is to say, this is the agency that I refer to. So they're, in essence, referring you because they're handing them a piece with your contact information on it. But the reason they're handing it to that person is because it solves their problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that social workers and physicians and trust officers are telling the people that they work with, and many times when those things are being told, the people hearing it, the family and the senior, you know, are kind of in the deer in the headlights mode. They're not writing it down, they're trying to listen, they're overwhelmed. Putting that information into a printed piece that referral source could give them to reinforce what they just told them is very attractive to referral sources. Helps them do their job better, helps them help their clients better, helps that client, you know, retain that information better.
When you have collected a lot of leads, you can continue to communicate with them and should continue to communicate with them with regular email campaigns. There was a slide earlier that talked about, you know, if you're giving information, don't just advertise. The same thing with email campaigns. You have to really think about who is your target, what is it that you're trying to get them to do, and what information would be of help to them. So we've had excellent results with doing email campaigns, and you also can capture leads from them if you have if you can drive people back to your website to that landing page, or just have them respond to you. So I mean, there's different ways to get leads from that, but the best way to do it is send them to the website and have them you know, download something or send them something of value. So I guess they wouldn't have to necessarily go to the website, but sending them something of value that does something they can put their hands on, that they can keep, that they can share with someone else, and that makes them remember you.
Yeah, there's different types of email marketing that you can be doing. We talked about, you know, e-newsletters. I think a lot of times, people don't realize that your e-newsletter audience can be leads, it can be referral sources, it can be current clients, it can be employees, caregivers, and having them get an email on a regular basis, whether your schedule is monthly or every other month or quarterly, gives them something they can easily share. If they're a caregiver, they can share it with other people they might know who would like to be a caregiver for your agency. If they're a client, they can share it with other people they know who have a parent who needs care. So always remember the shareability of digital communications. The more you can put into that digital space, the easier people can share it with other people.
And back to Marissa's point about don't forget print, I would also say don't forget presentations. If you have someone on your staff that has the capacity to present and has the credentials to present, then people are just hungry for information. I for years called the home care an at-need service. I haven't used that term in a long time, but it's still the truth that people really, when they have the need, that's when they're going to start looking for information. And once they have that need, they're hungry for it. And so if you have the capacity to present either in conjunction with other people who service your industry or just by yourself because you found a group that would like to hear from you, then by all means. And that works so well also with lead generation because you've got the capacity to gather the names and the information of the people that are there. You've also got the capacity to give them something with your name on it, and then you have the capacity to have a link on any of this material that would drive them back to your website so that you're going to make certain that they are checking out your business, they're becoming familiar with your brand, they are getting information, and then you've got them in your lead generation communication cycle because you've collected their information. So it really is a nice thing, as we say, a dessert for everything. It's a nice thing to do and certainly is effective. This is probably my thing because I always talk about what happens when you get that call. I cannot tell you how important who answers the phone is. There's specific ways to take inquiries. It really is a skill that should be taught. It is not something that comes intuitively. The ability to listen reflectively when you've got that person on the phone and to respond to what it is that they are asking for is really a talent, but it pays off in spades. And of course, the same thing with the in-home assessment. But you need to continue to communicate with leads. If someone chooses another agency, it doesn't mean that they're going to be happy with that agency forever. If they have a problem, then if you're continuing to communicate with them positively and satisfying their needs, the potential is they will call you if something happens with the agency that they've selected. And then just continuing to keep them on your list and communicating with them, because you never know when they are going to, even if they've already used your service, you never know when they might be able to refer you to someone else. So it really is keeping that conversation going is really crucial, because once you have a lead for someone who really is interested in home care, that's the gold mine for what you're trying to do in order to grow your business.
I think one of the things that surprises us is when we are doing mystery shopping calls, how often it is that we have called an agency and they don't follow up with us afterward, and how much better it would have been if, after we called and inquired, if they would have emailed us and maybe sent us by email a link to their blog on glaucoma, because we told them that our mom has glaucoma. There's such easy, very helpful ways to follow up with inquiries. that are not heavy-handed in the sales approach but look very helpful. And you have to have content to be able to do that.
The key really to marketing in today's market, and the key to generating leads, is really to think about it as all working together. And we've talked about all of those components today in terms of how do you make a fabulous 7-course meal. But it really is important to understand how it all works together. And we've given you examples of everything. What we don't have on here is strategic. We do not have a strategic thing on here, but strategy is also important in order to make all this happen. So we're going to take questions and answers now. I see that we have some. This is contact information for us, and we do have various products and services, and we do focus a lot on the home care industry. Aging care services is our overall focus, but we are, I would say, we are the only marketing business that I know of that focuses, solely on servicing the healthcare at home market. Okay, let's see what questions we have today. This is a good one. It says, in a highly competitive market, like this is San Antonio specifically, how do you secure recurring leads? Most only rotate their referrals and few have favorites. Either one of you want to take that one?
I think the first thing to look at is, why don't they have favorites? And think of that as an opportunity. How can you become their favorite? What is it that the other agencies are missing that you can go in on? My guess is that these agencies aren't going in and being helpful resources to these referral sources. They're not taking the time to say, how can we help your clients? Or here's some examples of the types of information, the types of questions that we found a lot of clients who need home care have. Provide those resources that will help their clients. See if that doesn't make you a favorite.
The next question is, what's the cost implication of developing and marketing a custom website for your clients? I'm assuming that means, what does it cost? It is not that expensive, and we will get with you later, because it really does vary depending on how much you have together. For instance, if you want to develop a website but you haven't done your brand work first, then it's going to cost more, because, as Marissa said earlier, when you drive, or maybe it was Amy, when you drive someone to your website, you want them you want to make certain that it's in good shape when they get there. And all of the components we've talked about, which really does start with branding, all of those things have to be there. So the other thing is, when you develop a website, obviously you're not going to have all the content immediately. So if you design a simple website based on branding and with good user experience, then you can continue to add things. And people's interest changes. So it makes sense to continue to update and change. I would say that marketing is an ongoing expense. It does not stop. It is not a one-time deal. It is ongoing. So you really do need to allocate a certain percentage of your revenue to spend on marketing each month, and you need to be measuring for results to make sure that that is working. Does our agency assist with website design? Yes, we use website designers that we recommend, or we'll work with your website designer. But the thing that we bring to the table, and I should probably let Amy and Marissa talk about this, but we help with the structure, with the content, with the, and again, obviously if you hadn't done your branding, we help with that as well. Do you want to say anything else about how we assist people in website design?
Yeah. I think, so there's lots of web developers out there in the world, and we will work with any web developer. That being said, we do have a web development company that we prefer, that we can refer people to. But what most web developers don't have is, the deep experience that we have in working in the home care industry. both on the agency side and on the marketing for agencies side. So, what we do is we project manage the web developer and we create the content for the site. We also do the image curation for the site, so we're choosing what images we think will resonate most with people visiting the site and that will best represent your brand. And as Merrily mentioned, we can actually work on the brand messaging, finding out what the why is behind the company, weaving that through the messaging on the site, and translating that more into maybe revamping a logo to kind of, push that through the logo a little bit more.
I have two questions here about, did we record this? Yes, this is being recorded, and it will be posted on the corecubed.com/events page when this webinar is over. Also, I have a question here about, is there a standard number of follow-up attempts? I personally think that if you're talking about calling someone, that you should do it 2 or 3 times, but then I think you should revisit that, like maybe a week out and then 2 weeks out and then a month out. But what we're talking about today, when we're pulling information from people that we're then communicating with by email, I don't think there's any limit to that. If they want to unsubscribe, they can do that. But if they're truly interested in some aspect of elder care and you're giving them information, we find people continue to be interested in it. And even after their immediate need is gone, because as you know, sometimes those needs wax and wane, and you might have a need and then it goes away and then you might have another need. So would Amy, would you or Marissa have a different answer to that question?
No, I agree. I think we're at a point in digital marketing where people understand that they can unsubscribe if they're not interested in receiving something any longer. And if your communications are designed in the right way, where they're helpful and educational and informational, there are quite a number of leads who will want to continue to receive that information because you're giving them really good insight into how to help their aging parent, succeed and be independent as they can be.
Well, we are at the end of our allotted time here, and we have answered our questions. So, Amy, I want to thank you, and Marissa, I want to thank you for another very good webinar. And I would encourage all of our attendees to visit us at corecubed.com and get in some of our lead generation campaigns, because we certainly do provide a lot of good information for the healthcare at home market, and we would love to have you as a client. So, Amy and Marissa, do you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
Nope, just thank you for being here today, and thanks for listening and learning. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please give us a call or send us an email.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your attendance today. And everyone have, this is Hump Day, so have a great rest of your week.